Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
It's not easy to put a precise figure on the number of people who are lesbian, gay or bisexual in this or any country. Even if the categories were precisely defined, it wouldn't be easy to get the data. Such are the inhibitions among many in answering survey questions about sexuality. However, some data is better than none, which is why the Office for National Statistics has collected figures on sexual identity in Britain. And the latest figures are not uninteresting, particularly when it comes to bisexuality. Is it getting more common? The Office for National Statistics surveyed hundreds of thousands of households and found that overall 1.7% of the population identify themselves as lesbian, gay or bisexual. Men significantly more likely than women to fall into one of these groups. But this 1.7% figure could be an underestimate. Potential shy gays may be a problem in surveys. And it's relevant to note that among younger people, 16 to 24, the figure was twice as high, 3.3%. Is that a sign people are becoming less heterosexual or just more willing to talk about sexuality openly? Now, focus on the LGB population and the split between LG and B. Approximately 2/3 identify as lesbian or gay and 1/3 categorise themselves as bisexual. That's the overall split, but it hides two important features. Among women who call themselves LGB, just over half call themselves bisexual. The survey suggests more women are bisexual than men. And among the youngest group, 55% of the LGB population are bisexual rather than gay or lesbian, a significant margin. A sign that people are becoming more bisexual or that young people have yet to settle on one sexuality or the other. Well, don't take these figures too literally. There are more don't knows or won't says in the sample than LGBs. But the pattern in the figures is quite revealing. Just what is it revealing? Let's talk to Dr. Helen Bowes-Catton, lecturer in social psychology at the Open University and chair of Bi UK, which is a network of UK bisexual researchers. And Stuart, who is a gay writer and broadcaster. Evening to you both. What is the reason why the young rate of bisexuality at the moment is so much higher than for older folks?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons for it. I think, first of all, people are changing their attitudes towards sexuality and people are much more confident to talk about their sexual identity or their sexual feelings. I think there's been a shift in identity politics. People are not so invested in the old identity politics of the 80s and 90s.
What, the labels of gay and lesbian and sort of they're separate and then there's...
Yeah. I think a lot of those battles politically have been won. It was really important to the to lesbian and gay movements that they established that sexuality was not a choice, and bisexuality was very threatening in that way because it brought in the idea that sexuality may be chosen.
But a lot of people would say the reason why the rate of bisexuality is higher in the young population is because a lot of those people are still feeling their way, and when they reach their mid-30s, they probably will have settled one way or the other. Is there truth in that?
Well, that may be true for some people, but then there are also people who start out identifying as gay and then move into being bisexual. True. So I don't think that bisexuals are necessarily any more fluid than anyone else. I think that sexuality is just quite a fluid thing.
Stuart, I think a lot of gay men do basically think a lot of bisexuals are gay who haven't really yet come to realise it. Did that used to be the case?
I think that definitely was the case a number of years ago. Certainly when I was coming out, there was the bi now, gay later was a kind of common kind of term that would be used, which is obviously quite biphobic and offensive now. And when I was at university, I was thrown out of the Lesbian and Gay Society for proposing that we allow bisexual people in, which seems...
Well, that's extraordinary.
But that was 80s identity politics, you know, and that was the feelings from the lesbians and the gay men was that if someone bisexual came in, they would be perhaps a sexual predator who would say to them, you know, you don't know what you're missing. That was the prejudiced views of the time from that community. And I thought that was outrageous, and so I was thrown out of the society. Now, I assume now that it's an LGBTQI society now, and that's a great thing, and that's how it should be. But going back 20, 30 years ago, bisexuals got the worst treatment possibly on the gay scene.
Is there much biphobia now? I expect you're going to tell me there is, but what form does it take? And give me examples.
It's often quite subtle. It's not necessarily as overt as it was maybe like 20 or 25 years ago. But what the bisexuals I've spoken to have said is that there's a sense of not really having a place to belong. So you can be in the straight world or you can be in the lesbian and gay world, but there isn't really a place for you to go where bisexuality is a default identity.
Let's get, I mean, perhaps the reason for that is obviously there are going to be, let's say, gay bars where gay men will go and lesbian bars where lesbians will go, and they will go for an obvious reason to meet each other or on hookup apps. But are there bisexual bars?
Not so much. There are bi nights and there are bi events. There's a thriving bi community in the UK, and there are lots and lots of events that people can go to, but they don't have commercial spaces in the same way that the lesbian and gay scenes do.
So it makes it harder for the kind of, in a way you could say it is a more mixed identity than gay, straight, lesbian or not. Is that?
Well, research shows that people that see their identities as mixed, they experience their identities as you know, unified, but that because of the way that we think and talk about sexuality and gender as, you know, either one or the other, it's very difficult to articulate that identity and come across as coherent. So it's easy to look as if you're going through a phase just because of the way that language works.
Did you go through a phase you would call yourself bisexual?
I never identified as bisexual. I dated women, you know, when I was younger because I was fearful of being gay. Did I think that made me bisexual? No. I was acting. It was a facade. And I guess that made me, many years ago, slightly distrustful of bisexuals. But it was through time of meeting people who are definitively attracted to both sex over time that changed that. But because I had put that facade on myself and struggled with my own identity, I kind of projected that onto other people I met who said they were bisexual.
In a word, Helen, is bisexuality increasing, decreasing? Actual bisexuality, just a word.
Probably the same as it's always been.
Thank you both very much.